What's up, everybody? It's Leo Ray's Rayon,
And I'm Josh Glazer.
and we're back again after a year, basically, 11-month hiatus. Not at a year yet, but you know, we're basically out of COVID. We have vaccines now, and we're both back. After a pretty busy draft season. We have some stuff to talk about. Josh, man, let the people know how you've been doing for the past 11 months, and let's get into it.
Doing good, man. I've been just trying to keep up with everything going on in the NFL and kind of just living life, not letting COVID keep me down. How about you? How you been doing?
I've been all right, man. It's hilarious because looking back at, we were just looking back at some of our past videos, like, and it's hilarious. The most funny one was, is Bill O'Brien on the hot seat. And I guess apparently he was on the hot seat. I mean, that was before the season even started. I mean, that was before we started like 1-3 or 0-4. I think it was 0-4, and when we fired him in the middle of the season, and it's funny as hell because like I could have told you after we gave up 24 points in like 5 minutes to the Chiefs that you know he should have been fired at halftime. So
Yeah, dead man walking.
yeah, yeah,
After
yeah.
that,
So man, we plan on starting off with the Saints. We're going. Well, first of all, let's just give them what's going on, man. We're kind of narrowing our focus down on two teams, our home city teams. For him, it's the Saints, and for me, it's the Texans. And yeah, man, let's just get into. Let's start off with the Texans. Um,
good.
yeah, man. So as far as like our draft, obviously, we didn't have that many picks. We didn't have a first or a second round pick, which to me was kind of it was bad. Because there were so many good players at the top of the draft, specifically for quarterbacks. You know what I mean? And second round, they had a bunch of players like I mean, Aziz Ojolari went low. I mean, who else? There was just so many players. I mean, Elijah Moore, who I think is a great player, was there probably when we would have picked. Who else, man? I mean, it was just so many. I mean, Terrace Marshall, you know,
Yeah, there was a lot of people that dropped that could have been if you even have had just your second round pick, it would have been
yeah,
able to get a more of an impact player.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, honestly, this might piss some Texans. Well, before all the news came out about Watson, this would have pissed a lot of
Yeah.
Texans fans off. But even before all that, man, I was of the thought that we should have traded him just because of the situation. Like it doesn't matter like how good the quarterback is playing. If he can't I mean, the man had an MVP type season, and we were still 4-12. I mean, it's time to just rebuild. It's time to get. We don't have picks. Get what you can from him. He wants to leave. Let him go. What I'm saying? Just start over. We have a new GM, a new regime. Just start over. But we didn't, and now all this news comes out. Deshaun might probably won't play this year. What else, bro? Who knows? What his stock will be like when he gets back. And I know that might be kind of a selfish way to look at it because of all the allegations and stuff, but it's true. We don't know what we'll be able to get back from him if we trade him after, or if he will even be the same player or person again after all of this, because it's trying. So yeah, let's get into the picks, man. Third round pick. I know Josh really likes this guy, and I like him too. Davis Mills. Um, Davis Mills, man. I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. Like when I saw this pick, I was happy, and then I thought about it, and then I kind of got, I was like, well, we have so many other holes that, you know, I don't think quarterback should have been the first thing we did. But then I looked at the draft board, to see who was actually there, man. And I mean, so many people went like literally just before we picked, you know, that it makes sense. So. I mean, I'm happy with it. Uh, we'll see what he turns out to be. At least he'll be a great backup, in my opinion. What you think about that, Josh?
Yeah, he was a really. I never really connected in my head that he would have been a good spot for them, but it kind of makes sense when you have a veteran guy like Tyrod Taylor in the building.
Hmm.
At this point, you can't even factor in Deshaun Watson into anything.
Yeah.
Like you said, he's basically just you almost treat him as like a dead cap at this point.
Hmm.
Like you can't even think that he's going to bring any value to your team. But the thing that was really interesting was his ties to some of the people on the staff
Right.
that I should have picked up. Like you had Pep Hamilton, who I think now is he your offensive coordinator now?
Yeah.
Or your quarterbacks coach, one of the two. He's known David Shaw for a long time, and he's previously on his staff in the early 2010s. So he must have had a lot of inside information, similar to like a Sean Payton who um, worked with David Shaw when he was in Philly. So those connections matter. So you probably got a real clear idea of what they were looking for. And I see where you're saying that it's kind of annoying that they went after quarterback.
Hmm.
The thing is that you can't win anything and until you have a quarterback of the future. And I get he's the only one that I would have really thought of drafting later that had any kind of upside from what I mean, there's a few other guys, but
Well,
he's kind of the highest upside.
well, yeah, yeah. I mean, I agree because there was some people that even were kind of almost looking at him as a possible first round, like late first, second pick, and then he fell. So I think that I mean, I was just saying like if there was other players on the board, there really weren't that many other players that would have made more sense than that. You know what I mean? For that value, I think it was good. Like it kind of reminds me of, I mean, hopefully it turns out to be like something like, how Russell Wilson was drafted in the third, Kirk Cousins drafted in the fourth. If we could get that kind of career out of him, I mean, it's a positive pick at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, moving on from that. Uh,
Well, quickly, I mean, just to give people kind of an idea of what they're getting with Davis Mills, I think would be a good idea. He's a weird projection because he's only had about 11 to 13 starts in his career. He's had some injuries, but he came in as like the top-rated quarterback of his high school class. So
yeah.
the tools are there,
Yeah,
and he
from Georgia
just
with Fields and Lawrence. So yeah.
yeah, he was hot shit back then. And he kind of everything kind of disappears and when you go to Stanford, but a lot of times it reemerges and with good experience. But the thing with him is he's just inconsistencies. He'll get better, but he's shown the flashes where you can make pretty much any throw. You can make a lot of throws that even elite quarterbacks struggle with.
Mhm.
So he's like if he gets the coaching, that's what's going to come down to. I mean, unfortunately, you're going to hear that over and over again. But if the staff puts him in a position where they don't rush him or they have a good pulse of his development, which I think the Texans should, with Pep Hamilton's connection with Shaw, he should have a lot of information that carries over with what they worked with, and there should be a clear a level of communication that should help him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And my bad. I was Pep Hamilton. He's our quarterbacks coach and our passing
Okay.
coordinator. So
Okay.
yeah, man. And I think the interesting thing I think that we didn't even hit on about what's his name? I just goddamn it.
Davis Mills.
Yeah, Mills is interesting thing about his game, man. Is I mean he's fast. He runs a 4.5 or something, 4.56, like a sub 4.640. So he can run like pretty much anything. Like if you want him to run, rollouts, he could do that. Like I mean, shit. I mean, that's fast enough to really run like a read option type thing. Like obviously not every damn play like he's Lamar Jackson or something, but you know, I mean, it's enough to like screw someone
You
over.
think, yeah, you can think of it the same way of Russell Wilson. I know they're very different sizes and everything,
Yeah,
but that same kind of mobility when needed, but not necessarily a heavy part of your game
yeah,
plan.
and he's a big guy. Like he's like 6'4", 220, right? 220.
Yeah, around there. Yeah, he's a big guy.
Yeah, yeah. So solid pick. I mean, honestly, it took balls to make that pick. So good for the Texans. Good for
Yeah, I'll never discount someone for drafting a quarterback early if they feel like he's potentially a starter.
yeah, right, right, right. And then so Josh, I know that we had a conversation about this guy. I didn't watch too much Michigan football. I don't know if you did, but I didn't. And so we got Nico Collins, big 6'4". two how 220 225 receiver. So he's adding size to we have pretty small receivers. You know what I mean, since Hop left. Cooks between Cooks, Fuller who is gone now, Kiki Kuti. Um, he's gonna add
Don't you,
size.
don't you all still have Randall Cobb too?
Yeah. So how
Yeah, so
tall?
you
He's
just have
like
a bunch
five.
of little guys.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they're all little guys. Yeah.
yeah. So he's I think that was a good pick too. I mean, I know he runs like a 4.4, so big body guy. Can move, and man, you got like what do you think about that pick? I know you probably.
Yeah, he was. So if I were looking at him a year ago,
Hmm.
uh, before the year where I believe he sat out he opted out for 2020.
Hmm.
Um, in 2019, he was more of like Alshon Jeffrey, just big guy that's going to post you up, doesn't really have much wiggle, not much flexibility in the hips.
Right,
But
right,
what he did, he used his 2020 opt-out year and cut a bunch of weight. You
right.
saw him come back and kind of re-enter the conversation to get into mid rounds during the Senior Bowl, and he was able to really show off his new ability to kind of get downfield a little quicker, get in and out of his breaks, more fluidity. He wasn't as much of like a quasi tight end anymore. He's now a legit option to play X. But obviously he's still very very raw. He's still trying to figure out the body mechanics of all the new all his new setup, basically he's got to get used to everything now. And he also has one thing that's interesting, similar to Hamilton's response and working with David Shaw in the previous, both Hamilton and Ben McDaniel were at we're at Michigan with this guy. So they had they were both the offensive assistants under there, and now McDaniel's the offensive assistant with the Texans. So
Yeah.
that kind of gives you another level of familiarity that allows them to kind of keep going with whatever development they were working on. They have a really clear idea what they're getting into.
Yeah. So I think that's great, man. You know what I mean? Anytime you have a chance to get a big ass receiver that can move, I mean, and
Yeah.
he's shown, he's persistent enough to, continue to work on his game and work on his body while he opted out. So that's great. Now, here's a pick that I liked a lot, personally. Brevin Jordan in the fifth round, I think that Brevin Jordan has a lot of upside. You know, he's fast. He's kind of like I mean, I'm trying to think. Like, I mean, I kind of want to say like a Gerald Everett type. He's probably about this. They're probably.
I've heard the closest thing that kind of made sense for me because of his rawness in terms of a route runner and everything, but
Mhm.
his ability after the catch. I've seen Eric Ebron as a comp.
Eric Ebron, but bro, I mean, he's yeah, I
Not
can see
coming
that.
not coming out of the draft,
Yeah,
but as like where he is now,
right,
like what
right,
kind of
right.
player he is now.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
That's only one thing I've seen, but yeah, he was. What were your thoughts of? You think I'm obviously that was good value in the fifth round to get a player like that.
Hmm.
Um, but the question I have for you is: it seems like you guys already have a ton of players at the tight end position, and
Yeah,
I mean, I know the Texans are famous for that, and now with the coach coming in from Baltimore, where they had like 40 tight ends on their roster,
right.
I guess that's just probably a shift that they're going to use. But what are your
Well,
thoughts on him being added in? And
I mean, I think our tight ends have been pretty good. You know what I mean? I don't think that we have anyone that's like kind of as fast as him or as explosive as he can be. You know what I mean? Because I've watched a lot of film. One of my favorite, YouTubers like broke him down, I think, a few times, and he has the ability to go vert that we don't have. Like Akins and well, Jordan Thomas is gone, but Akins, like, I mean, he produced, you know what I mean, in a way that is kind of, I mean, no disrespect to him, but like it was kind of shocking because he's not really that fast, you know what I mean, but he made plays. He was, he.
yeah, he was coming out. He's an older prospect because I believe he played minor league baseball.
Hmm.
But I think his whole setup is kind of short area, find the spot in the zone, really smart player in pass coverage.
You talking about
I think
Akins?
Jordan. Yeah, Aiken. That's more of kind of what he did.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
so
yeah.
he got a yards, little check downs from Deshaun last
Yeah,
year.
exactly, exactly. Yeah.
I
So,
think you're
but
right, Jordan.
this
Go
guy,
ahead.
yeah, this guy, he can, he can go out and get like, he's 6'3", 250, like, like he was saying, Ebron type speed. He's built like I mean, he's just like that 6'3" tight end that could just go out and run
Yeah,
past people. You
he's
know.
your classic. Yeah, your classic flex. He's going to be used hopefully as kind of a to stretch the field up the seams, that
Yeah.
kind of player. Because you guys don't really have that kind of
Yeah.
guy that bursts, or if you do have that kind of athlete, they're not polished enough. So I think he's a good mix.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, like I know that there's a ton of tight ends, and it probably doesn't fit the roster great. But
Mhm.
the fact is, he's in the fifth round, and it's a hell of a value.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, best player available, and I mean, our team sucks. Our roster isn't that good. You know what I mean? So,
Mhm.
if we have people that can come in and what I'm saying, within the next 4 years, you know, give us a reason to resign them, man. Like that's a great pick right there. And yeah, so the last two picks of our draft, fifth and sixth round, we got Roy Lopez, from a big defensive tackle from Arizona. Um, I know he's big as hell. I didn't really watch too much Arizona, but looking at his profile and stuff, I know he's a big guy, and we sucked against the run last year. You know, so I think that was a good pick too, from what I've seen. What you think about that pick, man?
Yeah, it fits. This is one that kind of fits with the roster construction pretty well because you have guys like Malik Collins and
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Dunn and Charles Amena who kind of but are good against the run sort of, but they're kind of tweeners.
Right, right, right.
Malik Collins is a little more of a penetrator, but both Dunn and Amina, I'm gonna screw it up, but Aminahu, I think is right.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys are more kind of just placeholders,
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of a 3-4 defensive end kind of player. This guy's really just 6'2", 318. He's going to drop the anchor and he's going to allow you to kind of reset your defense against the run. Hopefully, that's kind of the
yeah,
and
yeah,
that's and that's the kind of player that you can get value at
yeah.
pick
Yeah.
195 in round 6.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, so I agree, especially since we lost. When we lost DJ Reader, I felt like our defense kind of lost. I mean, he was our nose tackle. You know what I mean? So when we lost him, we didn't
Yeah,
have.
he allowed JJ to do what he did. Like you guys always had one of those guys that kind of ate up blocks and allowed everyone else to eat.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I mean, I mean, yeah, this guy has the body for that, and that's great. And I mean, quiet as it's kept, I mean, we still kind of have a nice little kind of rotation of front seven, down linemen basically. Between like you were saying, I'm gonna mess his name up too, but between Ross Blacklock, who we drafted last year, who
Oh
didn't
yeah,
really,
yeah, yeah.
who didn't really have like the year that I guess a lot of people expected, but he's still like 22, 23.
He's
Um,
yeah, so he's young. He'll get better.
yeah, yeah, like you're saying, Malik Collins. I mean, we just picked up Shaq Lawson. I think that we have, it's a decent starting point to build up for the future. And I mean, we just got to keep on developing that. You know what I mean? So, yeah, bro. And then the last pick, Garrett Wallow, man. Uh,
He was actually picked. We messed up, but he was picked in the fifth round at
yeah, yeah,
170. So he was actually picked six
yeah. I
six
started. I
spots
started.
low.
I went backwards. Y'all. That was on purpose, but it was out of
It's
order.
all
So,
good. It's all good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, man. I mean, what do you think about that pick, man? I know he's like a 6'2" linebacker. I know he's athletic and stuff.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what his RAS looks like, but to see like whether his athleticism. But when you look at his tape, man, he just makes a ton of plays, really smart. And
Hmm.
I think once again, though, if you're looking at roster, because at this point, it's not necessarily filling holes, but it's just stacking good players that allow you to just get as many good players on the field. Because at this point, there's not the level of talent that you need. So he kind of goes into a linebacking position that
Hmm.
has guys like Zach Cunningham, who's and Zach Cunningham, Christian Kirksey, Jordan Jenkins are all guys that they have But the problem is all those guys are on 1 or 2 year deals.
Yeah, yeah.
None of them are at this point long term options. I mean, Cunningham maybe because he's been there for a while, but he hasn't really come out taken that next step. So maybe you bring in a guy that's really smart, that's a real good communicator, has decent enough range to play in a TCU defense that really was spread out, so he didn't get exposed um, horribly. But yeah, I think it's a really good value in the 5th round and allows you to kind of add someone that the coaching staff can work on. It's not yet a finished product.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm looking at his RAS right now, which is he had. I mean, like it's like you were saying, they gave him a poor size grade, good explosion grade. They say he has elite agility. His shuttle drill was like 4.2 seconds. Cone drill was like a 6.87, which
Oh wow, that's really good.
yeah, which is crazy,
That's
crazy.
like elite edge rusher.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And good speed grade. So he ran his 40 and 4.65. You know, I mean,
He kind of fits in exactly what you guys need to just continue to add speed on the defense.
yeah. So he's
The
six
guys you
two,
can,
6'2", 220. I mean, that's the modern linebacker almost. Maybe a little bit undersized.
but
Um,
it's fine. You guys already have big guys like Cunningham, Kirksey, and Jenkins are all
yeah,
bigger dudes that can handle a lot of that.
yeah, yeah. So great pick, man. You know, as a fan, man. I guess to kind of wrap this up, man. As a fan, it was we went through a rough season, and obviously, for most teams at the end of the rough season, there's a present at the end with the high pick. You know, Unfortunately, the 49ers got what was meant for us. At least pick wise. So I think that as Texans fans, there's a lot of reasons to be frustrated, but at the same time, I think we have a lot of potential here. This was like the first draft. Well, I don't want to say that, but this was a good draft um, with what we had. So as far as the grade though, I'd have to give it like a C plus, just because of the overall. I mean, overall, but I mean, honestly, what they had, you could look at it as an A. So shit. I mean, they had their hands tied behind their back, you know,
Yep.
and that's it, man. I mean, I think that I don't know how many games we're gonna win this season. To be honest, y'all, like I don't know. What do you think about that, man? How many games do you see the Texans honestly winning?
It's the one saving grace that may allow y'all to win a few more games is the fact that everything is new. The system's new, the coaching staff is new. So it's
Mm-hmm.
going to take a few games. You might be able to sneak a couple of wins at the beginning.
Yeah, yeah.
Similar to what I think did the Panthers do that last year? They won a couple at the beginning
Mm-hmm.
and then they kind of fell back. I think
Yeah.
yeah, similar to that where it's going to be rough at the beginning. And the thing with this class grading wise, it's hard because when you draft a quarterback early that's not expected to play, this draft really comes down to what you think of Davis Mills. And if people like Davis Mills, they're going to give it a better grade. If they don't like it, then they're going to find ways to kind of like take off points on all these picks. But I mean, I don't see a pick that really it makes me nauseous or anything. So it's a good start from where the Texans have drafted previously.
Yeah. Right. 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 Yeah, man.
Some positivity for your new GM and your new coach.
Right. Exactly.
There
Exactly.
may be light at the end of the tunnel.
And yeah, man. So later, man, we're gonna probably just do a breakdown of like what we see coming from our new coaching staff and the GM. And yeah, man.
And we
Uh,
can also we'll also later before the year starts, we'll do breakdowns of the full roster,
yeah.
really getting into every little position of what we think of who we like, who could be a sleeper, what kind of just where we're looking at.
Exactly. Exactly. All right, y'all.